My name is Carl Rocap, and I'm a middle school ESE teacher. This is my micro-teaching assignment on Gardner's multiple intelligences. So many of you are probably familiar with three general categories in which people learn: visual learners, auditory learners, and kinesthetic learners. But beyond these three general categories, many theories of and approaches toward learning and human potential have been developed. Among them is the theory of multiple intelligences, developed by Dr. Howard Gardner, a developmental psychologist and professor of education at Harvard University. Gardner's early work in psychology and later in human cognition and human potential led to the development of the initial six intelligences. Today there are 9 intelligences, and the possibility of others may eventually expand the list. These intelligences, or competencies, relate to a person's unique aptitude set of capabilities and ways they might prefer to demonstrate intellectual abilities. First, verbal linguistic intelligence, which are well-developed verbal skills and sensitivity to the sounds, meanings, and rhythms of words. 2. Logical mathematical intelligence is the ability to think conceptually and abstractly, and capacity to discern logical and numerical patterns. Third, spatial visual intelligence, which is the capacity to think in images and pictures, to visualize accurately and abstractly. 4. Bodily kinesthetic intelligence, which is the ability to control one's body movements and to handle objects skillfully. 5. Musical intelligences, which are the ability to produce and appreciate rhythm, pitch, and timbre. 6. Interpersonal intelligence, which is the capacity to detect and respond appropriately to the moods, motivations, and desires of others. 7. Intrapersonal, which is the capacity to be self-aware and in tune with inner feelings, values, beliefs, and thinking processes. 8. Naturalistic intelligence, which is the ability to recognize and categorize plants, animals, and other objects in nature. 9. Existential intelligence, which is sensitivity and capacity to tackle deep questions about human existence, such as, what is the meaning of life? Why do we die? How do we get here? So, how can human potential be tied to one's preferences to learning? Simply through human potential. Gardner's focus on human potential lies in the understanding that people have a unique blend of capabilities and skills, or intelligences. This model can be used to understand overall personality, preferences, and strengths. Gardner asserts that people who have an affinity toward one of the intelligences do so in concert with the other intelligences as they develop skills and solve problems. People have different skills and strengths. For example, students who are interviewed or pre-screened as a means to a certain course may unfortunately be mislabeled as being less than desirable. How can human potential be tied to one's preferences to learning? Simply through human potential. Gardner's focus on human potential lies in the understanding that people have a unique blend of capabilities and skills, or intelligences. This model can be used to understand overall personality, preferences, and strengths. Gardner asserts that people who have an affinity toward one of the intelligences do so in concert with the other intelligences as they develop skills and solve problems. People have different strengths and intelligences. For example, students who are interviewed or pre-screened as a means to access a certain course may unfortunately be mislabeled as being less than desirable because of inappropriate assessment, such as poorly written interview questions, or bias toward a perceived perfect student, and other narrow criteria. In life, we need people who are collectively good at different things. A well-balanced world and well-balanced organizations and teams are necessarily comprised of people who possess different mixtures of intelligences. This gives that group a fuller collective capacity than a group of identical able specialists. So, how can we put Gardner's theory into practice in the classroom? Well, Gardner's multiple intelligences theory can be used for curriculum development, planning instruction, selection of course activities, and related assessment strategies. Instruction which is designed to help students develop their strengths can also trigger their confidence to develop areas in which they are not as strong. Students' multiple learning preferences can be addressed when instruction includes a range of meaningful and appropriate methods, activities, and assessments. Effective teachers seek to engage students and inspire learning through differentiated instruction. Differentiated instruction and assessment, also known as differentiated learning or in education, simply differentiation, is a framework or philosophy for effective teaching that involves providing all students within their diverse classroom community of learners a range of different avenues for understanding new information in terms of acquiring content, processing, constructing, making sense of ideas, and developing teaching materials and assessment measures so that all students within a classroom can learn effectively, regardless of differences in ability. Students vary in culture, socioeconomic status, language, gender, motivation, ability, disability, personal interests, and more, and teachers must be aware of these varieties as they plan curriculum. By considering varied learning needs, teachers can develop personalized instruction so that all children in the classroom can learn effectively. Differentiated classrooms have also been described as ones that respond to student variety in readiness levels, interests, and learning profiles. I love movies. How much? Well, like many movie nerds, I can recite much of Monty Python and the Holy Grail by heart. I've seen Back to the Future over 100 times. I listen to obscure podcasts about movies when I'm driving to and from school. So I look for ways to share this passion to teach my students about filmmaking, audio-video production, editing, and tie into core competencies like history, language arts, creative writing, character development, storytelling, cooperation, and much more. Look, when I was 7 years old, I saw Return of the Jedi, and it was the most awesome thing I'd ever seen. It transported me into another world. The lasers, the spaceships, the music, Chewbacca. It was a spectacle, and I believed it was real. I wouldn't learn until I was older that movie magic was actually a complicated collaborative process involving dozens, if not hundreds of people, from the director to the lowly fourth production assistant. Everyone has a specific specialized job to do. So making movies is a lot like Gardner's multiple intelligence theory. Both relate to individuals performing tasks which utilize each individual's interests, talents, and competencies. I've taken enrichment classes about film, including a professional education course provided by the district on how to integrate iMovie and other multimedia programs into the classroom and spark learning. This year's class wrote and produced a short historical film about Abraham Lincoln. The students designed and built props, wrote the dialogue, rehearsed blocking, recorded and edited the film. We even showed the movie for a school.
Put my honor there.
We've got the place surrounded.
Last year, I had a 6th grade ESE student who was withdrawn, unmotivated, and completely disinterested in anything academic whatsoever. But one of the most powerful tools in a teacher's toolbox is the lightsaber of virtues, unrelenting optimism. I knew I could teach him if I could just find a subject that interested him. So I did some digging, and after talking with him, I learned he liked hiking in the woods. Aha! So we read a book about plants together. Then I further tapped into his interest by taking short nature walks to collect leaves, pine cones, studying them. Then, building on this newfound engagement with learning, I differentiated instruction to include an experiment in which we would plant seeds and monitor growth while manipulating variables like water and sunlight. So where are we now? Well, we've built a student garden. We routinely harvest sweet organic cherry tomatoes and delicious green peppers. which we use to make salads for the students to enjoy. Oh, and the student's grades have improved. He takes pride in tending the garden. He wants to work on a farm after school. It's great. Gardner's multiple intelligence theory enables educators to reach and teach students by recognizing their individual strengths and using differentiated instruction to help them succeed. So, in the case of this particular student, instruction was designed to help him develop his strengths, and it can also trigger confidence develop in other areas in which he may not be as strong, like leadership, stewardship, and other vital social skills.